Imagine this. A metallic sphere suddenly drops from the sky in Colombia. Scientists examine this. Instruments go crazy, and then it just sits there, silent, cold, until someone chants a Sanskrit mantra. And suddenly, this object we don't understand, nor do scientists, reacts. Now, is this definitive proof of aliens? Is it proof of Sanatan Dharma? Or is it proof that the universe is way more conscious than we think? Stay with me, because in this video, I'm revealing the decoded message this mysterious Buga Sphere brought to Earth, why it reacted to Sanskrit mantras and nothing else, and the warning it's giving us as humans right now. I'm Alba Pandya. This is The Conscious Mic, where Dharma meets modernity and ancient wisdom finally gets the mic it deserves. I'm not here to claim anything. I'm here to show you the possibility, because the mainstream will never say it loudly. They're too tied up in red tape. So if you're into spiritual depth and discovery, then hit subscribe today. This is a new channel, and your support helps bring these ancient truths back into the light. Without further ado, let's begin. I want to take you back to the 25th of March 2025 in Buga, Colombia. Now, you've probably seen a lot of videos on this, but what a lot of these videos are not sharing is the in-depth ancient Sanatan wisdom that comes from this unknown flying object. A farmer finds a metallic sphere lying on a scorched, lifeless patch of land, no moisture, like something drained the earth itself. The grass around it looked completely dry, almost like it was burnt. This is José Restrepo, the farmer who first discovered the sphere. His account is simple but shocking. He described the ground as scorched, the air strangely cold, and the sphere as if it had landed with intention.
My name is José Restrepo. I'm the person who found the sphere. I had physical maladies, but it was just temporal. When I picked it up, my mouth dried up, and I had a metallic taste in my mouth. When it was right next to it, it started humming. The sphere started humming, and that's when I turned around and looked at it. It was the humming that called my attention, and that's when I started filming. It was around 8 minutes, and it was cut, but we were changing from one place to another, trying to get a better shot. So, number one, there's magnetic fields. Number two, you have high voltage lines nearby. And these high voltage lines transmit electricity at 10,000 volts. So what happened? The sphere got too close to the lines. It got too close to the cables that apparently were 10,000 volts. There's a small spark, and yes, it was like burned over, because I saw the spark and I saw how it impacted the sphere. I listened to the short circuit because it was more or less a few feet away from here. I was getting ready to go, and when I realized all the grass was dried up. It was sitting on the grass for 15 minutes, and it dehydrated the grass. Well, we realized that the land was dehydrated the day after, actually. And I put my hand on top of the soil. And I got a hold of it. It was so impressive that I did get a little bit scared, but I also felt internal peace. It was emanating feelings of tranquility, of peace.
Now, the other mysterious thing about this is you'd expect a fall from the sky to crack it. You'd expect this orb to have a dent, at least leave a scratch, but nothing. When scientists examined it, they found perfection. A flawless metal orb, no seams, no welds, no joints. Just one impossibly smooth sphere. When the Mexican scientists first weigh it, the object is 2 kilograms. Days later, without growing even a millimeter in size, it now weighs as much as 10 kilograms. That defies physics.
The most shocking thing about the sphere was its weight. It only weighed 2 kilos when the sphere was handed to me. 15 days later, it went up to 6 kilos. Later, it grew all the way to 9 kilos. And today, it weighs 10 kilos.
And the weight is shifting and fluctuating, which is one of the many mysterious properties attributed to the sphere, leading to speculation about its origin and potential use of advanced or futuristic gravitational forces. But hold on, there's more. Researchers detect a constant 2.3 kilohertz frequency coming from this sphere. This frequency is typically used to connect with the Earth's atmosphere and bounce signals outward, almost like an antenna trying to communicate. But with who or what? That's the question. Once this sphere enters the lab, things get even stranger. The sphere stays colder than the room, as if it's absorbing heat. And it gives off a low vibration that interferes with the electronics in the room. Some of the Mexican technicians are saying the sphere behaves as if it can change its own mass, becoming lighter or heavier depending on what's happening around it. And whenever someone moves closer to it, the readings shift. It's as if the sphere itself isn't passive, it's aware, it's awakened. Inside this thing, scientists found something insane. 18 microspheres arranged in these perfect geometric rings, and all of them connected through 52 fiber optic strands, feeding into a single rectangular core, what researchers are straight up calling the chip. And here's the wild part. Nobody on Earth has ever seen tech like this, not even close. Dr. Stephen Greer, yes, the American ufologist who founded CSETI and the Disclosure Project, says that after all the testing and analysis done, the Buga Sphere actually traces back around 12,560 years. And this is based on radiocarbon dating done at the University of Georgia. 12,000 years. This isn't just a mystery. This is a full reset on everything we think we know. But more so on what Sanatan Dharma and our Vedic scriptures already knew. And I'll come to that shortly. So keep watching.
It's using an energy field and what we probably would say is electrogravitic, which means a type of anti-gravity effect from the electromagnetic forces. And whether it is a purely extraterrestrial origin or a mix of an ancient human extraterrestrial development, my own sense of this is that it's obviously real, it's anomalous. We have seen these sort of spheres before, and I just want to share, 2 days ago, we debriefed a Green Beret he was in a subterranean facility, Crane, Indiana, the Naval Weapons Station. And this is a top Green Beret, not many years ago. And he was taken underground, very deep, and it was shown several extraterrestrial devices, one of which had a device, like a translucent, almost like a small iPad, but extraterrestrial. And it was putting up above that screen a series of letters or symbols, deep ink black. And they are on this sphere, 4 or 5 of them. It was very unusual. Now, this gentleman, he didn't have any association with those symbols until he saw this sphere. And in the interview 2 days ago, when we were in Los Angeles, I'm not going to disclose his name right now. His information is going to a investigation law enforcement group in the United States that I'm working with that are looking into the criminal aspects of the secrecy of this. But he said these are exactly the symbols that were floating above this device in the air, about a foot, and that they had some effect in his awareness, and he thought it had something to do with activation of DNA and consciousness, some very unusual effect.
Dr. Stephen Greer said this sphere is beyond anything known, and now its message, decoded just 2 weeks ago, changes everything. Watch till the end to hear what it came here to tell us. But the breakthrough doesn't come from the microscopes. It comes from sound. Yes, you've heard me correctly. During a collaboration test, someone speaks near the sphere. Everything spikes. They start experimenting. Musical tones, humming, instruments, long vocal frequency. Each one triggers a very different internal response. It's like this object, which they have named as the Buga Sphere, is listening. So, one of the scientists asks, if it reacts to vibration, what happens if we try the oldest vibrational language on Earth? They chose Sanskrit, and not for religious reasons. Sanskrit, for those who don't know, is the world's oldest structured language. Our Maharishis meditated for generations to map cosmic vibrations. Those discoveries became Vedic Sanskrit. Every sound has a precise geometry, a specific frequency, and a predictable vibration. Modern neuroscience even says Sanskrit activates the brain in ways no other language does. So, if any language could act as a universal frequency, it's Sanskrit. Here now comes the mantra test. The Mexican scientist places the sphere in a sound-sealed chamber, and for a few minutes, nothing happens. Then, the electromagnetic field spikes.
Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hidriyaravinde Vavam Vamami Sahitam Namami Om Bhurvuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yoma Prachodayat Om.
Está leyendo un mantra, está cantando un mantra, y cuando lo está cantando reacciona.
For those who don't know, the Gayatri Mantra is again an ancient Hindu mantra used for chanting to goddess Gayatri.
¿Pueden ver qué respuesta?
¿Repetimos los mantras?
Sí.
Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanirvavati Bharata Avyuktanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamyaham Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam Dharma Sansthapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge.
They tried other languages. No change.
Okay, there it is. Minimum values. Well, it doesn't react to the voice.
They then try white noise. Nothing happens.
It reacts to radio frequencies or fields.
But Sanskrit mantras? They get consistent reaction, consistent energy spikes, consistent resonance. Some scientists say it looked less like reaction and more like recognition. The sphere wasn't responding to the meaning of the chant, it was responding to the geometry of the vibration, exactly how our rishis explained mantra thousands of years ago. Later, when the Mexican scientists analyzed the data, they claim the energy pattern resembles the geometry of the Shri Yantra, which is a sacred Hindu symbol representing universal design. My question to you is this coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe vibration is a much deeper key than we think. Not so long ago, NASA recorded a vibration from deep space, specifically from the sun and later from black holes. That sounds eerily similar to the deep, resonant hum people associate with Om. The sun doesn't make sound in space, there's no air, but it vibrates like a giant instrument. Scientists converted those vibrations into an audible frequency so humans can hear it. And when you listen to it, it's a deep, steady hum, very close to the Om tone used in meditation. NASA also converted sound waves from a black hole in the Perseus galaxy. Again, a haunting, low-frequency hum. People compare it to the sound of Om because they sound very, very similar. So, when modern science played these space frequencies and they resembled Om, it blew people's minds. And this frequency they heard was very, very identical, described in our ancient texts. Science heard a cosmic hum. Our rishis called it Om, the sound of creation. Spiritual leaders say it proves ancient knowledge, which our rishis knew centuries ago. Scientists call it anomaly. Skeptics call it fake. Governments are locking it down. But this is where the Sanatan lens becomes important. Nothing about this story is strange to Sanatan Dharma. And here's the reason why I say this. Our scriptures already tell us the universe begins with sound. Reality is vibration. Consciousness interacts with matter. Mantras carry frequency, geometry. Sanskrit, it is activated. And the biggest connection, what we call UFOs today, our ancestors called Vimanas. They weren't imaginary flying chariots. They were sophisticated crafts used by Hindu gods, rishis and sages, siddhas, kings, yogis trained in vibration and consciousness. And here's the wild part. Vimanas do not run on fuel or engines. They responded to sound, specifically Vedic mantras. Mantras acted like the password, the activation key, and the navigation system. The craft didn't move because someone pressed a button. It moved because someone matched its frequency. And in the Hindu scriptures, in the Ramayana, one of the holy books, after Lord Ram defeated Ravan in Lanka, he needed to return to Ayodhya. He didn't operate the Pushpak Viman like a machine. He chanted a specific mantra. The Viman recognized the spiritual vibration behind his voice and activated itself, just like the Buga Sphere seems to respond to Sanskrit today. Not to meaning, but to vibration, to frequency, to consciousness. So when a modern object reacts to Sanskrit, those in the know, like us Sanatanis, who read the scriptures, who know about Vimanas, who know about flying objects, they don't say impossible. We say you're finally discovering what we've always known centuries and centuries and centuries ago.
Sanskrit, the Vedas, the science of consciousness, and that interface with interstellar technologies and contact. There is an interface there, and I know it. I've known it since I was 18. Buga Sphere seems to have two different linguistic specialists in the past week in Europe have found that those symbols are from a proto-Sanskrit, an earlier than modern-day Sanskrit language, but related to Sanskrit. And I think it's very likely that the science of consciousness in Vedas and Sanskrit and Proto-Sanskrit came from another star system. I've always felt that was the case. That's why I became a meditation teacher after I had my onboard and learned Sanskrit. And I still teach people Sanskrit mantras and chanting and all that. But I think that there is a nexus where this very high-tech aspect of it comes together with ancient Sanskrit and ancient science of consciousness, because the Vedas are the best repository of that knowledge that we have. And, it precedes Christianity, Buddhism, way, way, way later. So Sanskrit and the Vedas are a body of knowledge that predate any organized religion on the planet.
I also want to add at this point that this is not the first time a sphere has been spotted on Earth. There's been spheres spotted outside of passenger planes. There's been spheres spotted in London, UK at the airports. There's been spheres spotted in Dubai. So this is something that's happening regularly since the last 10 years, I would say, if not more. But only now people have started to see them more regularly. And now we've reached the part you've been waiting for, the conclusion and the message itself. Just 2 weeks ago, Dr. Agnes Artori finally decoded the Sanskrit patterns found on the Buga Sphere after months of analysing it. And what she uncovered is a mysterious but urgent message this sphere wants every human on Earth to understand.
It simply caught my attention because I saw some of the symbols that I had been studying for years on the sphere, and I began to think, well, that must be Proto-Sanskrit. But I didn't take it as something certain. It was my hypothesis. But later, as I continued searching and delving deeper, I found more and more signs. That's how I came to the conclusion that this is Proto-Sanskrit. But I believe that this next step was a key, indispensable step. I can say that I am studying a Proto-Sanskrit. The teacher with you, but also with teacher Dorito, I said, if you give me the time, let me look it up in the Sanskrit dictionary, because if these words appear in the dictionary, it really is Proto-Sanskrit. And that's how it was. And today we are somehow delivering the fruit of that type of research that was done in Sanskrit. That is, the phonetic correspondence of meaning, and with very small variations in writing means that we are speaking with certainty. In other words, it does appear there. It appears completely. Do you have no doubts? No, not anymore. Not anymore. And today, the work that I delivered today is proof that in each of these symbols there is a linguistic, phonetic, and meaningful root that corresponds. Look, there's a correspondence between all the sacred texts in the history of religion and mythologies. There's a lot of correspondence with what comes from waiting. I feel that this message comes from very far away, and I feel a deep resonance in the fact that it has to do with us today, because it is a message for us. I believe so. Definitely, and I tell you with all honesty, what worries me is seeing that humanity is moving away from knowledge, from the spiritual heritage it received, from the incredible gifts of nature, from life. History has taught us that mistakes are paid for very, very dearly, and I see that young people are getting used to living on the surface. The surface is very dangerous because a tree without roots will fall. So this sphere is telling us in its message that we have to recover the ancient teachings because everything, absolutely everything, was given to us. And that is a treasure that we have to take care of. That is, I believe, the main message, and I think it is very necessary today. That vision is truly needed today. What does this message mean? This message says that knowledge came from the beginning and that it was given to humanity together with the celestial harmony, the sun, the moon, and everything that is the natural cycle and the natural rhythm of the cosmos, the universe, and the earth. And that later, culture, knowledge, and the higher things were also given. This, everything that was spiritual was shared with the earth so that humanity could raise its way of life and be dignified, because it speaks of the good. In the good is the sense of heroism, the sense of honesty. Here we go with words full of meaning. Here the good is presented as something very important that should be the base, the column of human existence. And finally, it is commenting after all that has been given to you and that humanity received all this, it is in great danger because we already spoke of the broken tap and that is like an explosion of worlds. It is a glyph that is speaking of a problem that may arise. But notice, the next sign says, this is your will, this is your responsibility, because this is the great message. At the end of the great message, it speaks of your responsibility. The message ends by saying, finally, after the ship left, here it speaks of the ship, the Indrapura that came sent by the gods. It left a warning of danger, whether of the breaking of worlds by atomic disasters, solar explosion, or destruction, where everything could end due to our decision. And our responsibility, destroying forever the great vital essence, the breath and respiration of the creation of life. That's how the message ends. Above all, it's impressive that it's a message that's 12,560 years old. When I read the pre-Sanskrit texts, I found an incredible correspondence with our point of view, our existential philosophy, our reality, because it speaks of good and evil, it speaks of the struggles, of the wars, of the races that were arriving on the planet with different characteristics. So, I feel that even though a lot has happened, time, the present is eternal, here we are. It's the same, we are like them and they. I think they wanted to get here to communicate this. I think it was difficult. Well, I can tell you that if I hadn't been studying this for 15 years, I would never have been able to reach this result.
So there we have it, a sacred cosmic warning, whispering of creation, dissolution, and the divine breath that moves the entire universe. This message is reminding us that it's our responsibility to protect this world, not destroy it, because our actions don't just shape Earth, they ripple through the solar system and far beyond. And as we come to the final of this video, I have a question. What do you think the Buga Sphere actually is? I've given you the studies, the scriptures, the facts, and the scientific research carried out. Is it a probe? Is it ancient tech? Is it a consciousness device, a Vimanas seed, or something else entirely? I genuinely want to hear your theory, so drop it in the comments below. And if this video opened something in your mind today or made you think in a new way, you can now use super thanks to support the channel and help me keep creating deeper, more researched content like this. And before you go, share this video with your friends and family who would appreciate this kind of content. You never know who needs to hear this perspective. And one more thing. If you want to dive deeper into energy, devotion, and the power behind Hanuman, you must watch my video on why 3 major celebrities are hooked on Hanuman. Their stories say more about faith, vibration, and protection than any documentary ever could. I'll link it right here on the screen. It'll pop up and in the description below. If you're into this kind of spiritual depth and discovery, hit subscribe. I've been checking out my stats over the last couple of days, and so many of you who are not subscribed to the channel are watching my videos, you're commenting, you're liking, which is fantastic, but you're not subscribed to the channel. And if you don't subscribe, you miss out on the latest videos and all the latest information that I'm giving you right here on this channel. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I know it can be forgotten, so I'm reminding you now. And of course, if you want to be the first to watch the latest videos, then hit that bell as well. This is a new channel, and your support helps bring these ancient truths back into the light. I'll see you in the next video.